Thank you, wealth. Thank you, wealth, for flowing to me effortlessly. Thank you, wealth, for choosing me daily. Thank you, wealth, for expanding in my life. Thank you, wealth, for meeting me at every level. Thank you, wealth, for growing with me. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my dreams. Thank you, wealth, for multiplying in my hands. Thank you, wealth, for finding me everywhere I go. Thank you, wealth, for arriving in unexpected ways. Thank you, wealth, for arriving in expected ways. Thank you, wealth, for aligning with my purpose. Thank you, wealth, for allowing me to do good. Thank you, wealth, for blessing my work. Thank you, wealth, for increasing every day. Thank you, wealth, for making my life easier. Thank you, wealth, for surrounding me. Thank you, wealth, for rising with me. Thank you, wealth, for staying with me. Thank you, wealth, for honoring my value. Thank you, wealth, for empowering my generosity. Thank you, wealth, for opening new doors for me. Thank you, wealth, for showing up consistently for me. Thank you, wealth, for amplifying my impact. Thank you, wealth, for flowing freely. Thank you, wealth, for flowing abundantly. Thank you, wealth, for always finding your way to me. Thank you, wealth, for flowing into my life with ease. Thank you, wealth, for increasing beyond my expectations. Thank you, wealth, for expanding my possibilities. Thank you, wealth, for rewarding my faith. Thank you, wealth, for rewarding my action. Thank you, wealth, for circulating freely around me. Thank you, wealth, for choosing me again and again. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my highest timeline. Thank you, wealth, for arriving right on time. Thank you, wealth, for exceeding my desires. Thank you, wealth, for rising as I rise. Thank you, wealth, for strengthening my confidence. Thank you, wealth, for backing my bold moves. Thank you, wealth, for meeting my needs fully. Thank you, wealth, for overflowing in my accounts. Thank you, wealth, for aligning with my vision. Thank you, wealth, for honoring my work. Thank you, wealth, for increasing my security. Thank you, wealth, for empowering my generosity. Thank you, wealth, for expanding my reach. Thank you, wealth, for blessing my creativity. Thank you, wealth, for rewarding my consistency. Thank you, wealth, for moving towards me now. Thank you, wealth, for filling my life with abundance. Thank you, wealth, for showing up in surprising ways. Thank you, wealth, for being drawn to me. Thank you, wealth, for circulating with ease. Thank you, wealth, for building with me daily. Thank you, wealth, for lifting my standards. Thank you, wealth, for matching my growth. Thank you, wealth, for accelerating my expansion. Thank you, wealth, for stabilizing my future. Thank you, wealth, for backing my purpose. Thank you, wealth, for increasing my freedom. Thank you, wealth, for strengthening my foundation. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my family. Thank you, wealth, for expanding my opportunities. Thank you, wealth, for flowing consistently to me. Thank you, wealth, for making space for more. Thank you, wealth, for unlocking new levels in my life. Thank you, wealth, for aligning with my worth. Thank you, wealth, for rising every day. Thank you, wealth, for surrounding me with prosperity. Thank you, wealth, for favoring me. Thank you, wealth, for honoring my discipline. Thank you, wealth, for multiplying my results. Thank you, wealth, for rewarding my courage. Thank you, wealth, for elevating my lifestyle. Thank you, wealth, for growing faster than my fears. Thank you, wealth, for responding to my gratitude. Thank you, wealth, for meeting me at my next level. Thank you, wealth, for flowing from every direction. Thank you, wealth, for strengthening my confidence. Thank you, wealth, for expanding my influence. Thank you, wealth, for moving towards me with speed. Thank you, wealth, for blessing my efforts. Thank you, wealth, for increasing without strain. Thank you, wealth, for showing up daily. Thank you, wealth, for amplifying my joy. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my peace. Thank you, wealth, for multiplying my impact. Thank you, wealth, for backing my dreams. Thank you, wealth, for growing in my hands. Thank you, wealth, for circulating smoothly. Thank you, wealth, for expanding my options. Thank you, wealth, for blessing my investments. Thank you, wealth, for strengthening my stability. Thank you, wealth, for flowing to me naturally. Thank you, wealth, for meeting me wherever I am. Thank you, wealth, for increasing as I give. Thank you, wealth, for rewarding my alignment. Thank you, wealth, for magnifying my abundance. Thank you, wealth, for stabilizing my growth. Thank you, wealth, for opening bigger doors. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my expansion. Thank you, wealth, for increasing my abundance. Thank you, wealth, for growing consistently. Thank you, wealth, for showing up in multiples. Thank you, wealth, for honoring my faith. Thank you, wealth, for rising beyond limits. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my mission. Thank you, wealth, for empowering my service. Thank you, wealth, for flowing endlessly to me. Thank you, wealth, for increasing without resistance. Thank you, wealth, for amplifying my success. Thank you, wealth, for strengthening my freedom. Thank you, wealth, for multiplying my blessings. Thank you, wealth, for expanding beyond measure. Thank you, wealth, for supporting my vision fully. Thank you, wealth, for rising alongside me. Thank you, wealth, for filling my life with prosperity. Thank you, wealth, for flowing in waves. Thank you, wealth, for always coming back to me. Thank you, wealth, for flowing into my life. Thank you, wealth, for allowing me to live life on my own terms. Thank you, wealth, for the peace of mind you bring to my household. Thank you, wealth, for the security you bring to my household. Thank you, wealth, for the ability to give back. Thank you, wealth, for allowing me to be a blessing to others. Thank you, wealth, for choosing me as a powerful vessel of prosperity. Thank you, wealth, for allowing me to be a responsible vessel of prosperity. Thank you, wealth, for every opportunity that turns into a new stream of income. Thank you, wealth, for the comfort in my life. Thank you, wealth, for the luxury you add to my daily experience. Thank you, wealth, for the joy you add to my life. Thank you, wealth, for flowing to me in increasing quantities. Thank you, wealth, for being a constant presence in my life. Thank you, wealth, for being a reliable presence in my life. Thank you, wealth, for finding me even when I am not looking for you. Thank you, wealth, for the ease with which you enter my bank account. Thank you, wealth, for multiplying every time I spend you. Thank you, wealth, for the diverse streams of income you've created for me. Thank you, wealth, for the rapid growth of my investments. Thank you, wealth, for the bonuses that arrive daily. Thank you, wealth, for the unexpected gifts that arrive daily. Thank you, wealth, for the yes I receive in every financial negotiation. Thank you, wealth, for the overflow that allows me to save effortlessly. Thank you, wealth, for the freedom to travel the world in comfort. Thank you, wealth, for the ability to buy what I want without looking at the price. Thank you, wealth, for the beautiful, high-vibration home I live in. Thank you, wealth, for the beautiful places I get to visit. Thank you, wealth, for the luxury of time you have bought for me. Thank you, wealth, for the beautiful home that I live in. Thank you, wealth, for the healthy food I can always afford. Thank you, wealth, for the ability to pay my bills without worry. Thank you, wealth, for the experiences that enrich my soul. Thank you, wealth, for the upgrades in every area of my life. Thank you, wealth, for the services that make my life easier. Thank you, wealth, for the clothes that make me feel confident. Thank you, wealth, for the clothes that make me feel powerful. Thank you, wealth, for the power to change lives through my donations. Thank you, wealth, for the ability to support my family's dreams. Thank you, wealth, for making me a pillar of my community. Thank you, wealth, for the foundations and charities I am able to fund. Thank you, wealth, for the generous tips I am able to leave for others. Thank you, wealth, for the legacy I am building for future generations. Thank you, wealth, for the capacity to help friends in times of need. Thank you, wealth, for the scholarships I can provide for students. Thank you, wealth, for the positive influence I have. Thank you, wealth, for the brilliant ideas that turn into gold. Thank you, wealth, for the mentors who show me how to grow even further. Thank you, wealth, for the intuition that leads me to the best deals. Thank you, wealth, for the courage to take calculated risks that pay off. Thank you, wealth, for the technology that makes earning money simple. Thank you, wealth, for the connections and networking that expand my reach. Thank you, wealth, for the wisdom to manage you with excellence. Thank you, wealth, for the discipline to keep growing my net worth. Thank you, wealth, for the creativity that keeps my income fresh. Thank you, wealth, for the energy to pursue my most lucrative passions. Thank you, wealth, for healing my relationship with money. Thank you, wealth, for removing my limiting beliefs about scarcity. Thank you, wealth, for making me feel worthy of every cent I receive. Thank you, wealth, for the vibration of success that now defines me. Thank you, wealth, for the confidence I feel when discussing finances. Thank you, wealth, for the calm I feel when checking my balances. Thank you, wealth, for matching my internal value with external riches. Thank you, wealth, for teaching me that I deserve the best. Thank you, wealth, for the joy that accompanies every deposit. Thank you, wealth, for being my natural state of being. Thank you, wealth, for the clients who pay me more than I ask. Thank you, wealth, for the promotions that seem to happen easily. Thank you, wealth, for the high profit margins in my business. Thank you, wealth, for the passive income that earns while I sleep. Thank you, wealth, for the recognition that lead to more riches. Thank you, wealth, for the awards that lead me to more riches. Thank you, wealth, for the scalable systems I've put in place. Thank you, wealth, for the talent I attract to my professional team. Thank you, wealth, for the skyrocketing value of my brand. Thank you, wealth, for the loyal customers who support my vision. Thank you, wealth, for the global reach of my financial influence. Thank you, wealth, for the exponential growth of my stock portfolio. Thank you, wealth, for the real estate that appreciates every day. Thank you, wealth, for the tax breaks I enjoy. Thank you, wealth, for the tax advantages I enjoy. Thank you, wealth, for the compounding interest that works in my favor. Thank you, wealth, for the new doors that open the moment I think of them. Thank you, wealth, for the retirement fund that is already overflowing. Thank you, wealth, for the stability of the economy in my favor. Thank you, wealth, for the discounts that save me money. Thank you, wealth, for the coupons that save me money. Thank you, wealth, for all of the free treats I enjoy. Thank you, wealth, for the gas in my car. Thank you, wealth, for the roof over my head. Thank you, wealth, for the electricity in my home. Thank you, wealth, for the clean water I enjoy. Thank you, wealth, for my comfortable bed. Thank you, wealth, for my education. Thank you, wealth, for the health that allows me to enjoy my riches. Thank you, wealth, for the laughter that money cannot buy, but wealth supports. Thank you, wealth, for the love that money cannot buy, but wealth supports. Thank you, wealth, for being a spiritual energy I embrace. Thank you, wealth, for God's infinite desire for me to be rich. Thank you, wealth, for the universe's infinite desire for me to be rich. Thank you, wealth, for the grace that brings prosperity to my door. Thank you, wealth, for the large sums of money coming into my life. Thank you, wealth, for being my constant companion. Thank you, wealth, for the absolute certainty that I am a millionaire. Thank you, wealth, for the evidence of abundance everywhere I look. Thank you, wealth, because I have more than enough. Thank you, wealth, for the smile on my face when I think of my future. Thank you, wealth, for the transformation of my family's history. Thank you, wealth, for the power to say yes to every adventure. Thank you, wealth, for the incredible life I am currently living. Thank you, wealth, for being here now. Thank you, wealth, for everything in my life. I thank you for joining me here today. Before we end, I'd like to remind you of these facts of life as always. You are wealthy. You are aligned with overflowing wealth. You are grateful for the abundance surrounding you. You are a magnet for wealth. You are expanding into greater financial freedom. You are worthy of lasting wealth. You are supported by increasing abundance. You are blessed with multiplying resources. You are open to wealth flowing to you freely. You are attracting prosperity with ease. You are financially empowered. You are financially secure. You are rising into new levels of wealth. You are chosen by abundance daily. You are aligned with overflow. You are wealthy in every form. You are wealthy in health, money, time, and love. Know this to be true. Claim it as yours now, always and forever. I thank you again for joining me here today. If you enjoyed these affirmations, please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribing, and sharing with someone you love. If you would like to support this channel further, please consider buying me a coffee at the link below. Lastly, and as always, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for your support. I could not do this without you. As always, take care and make a difference.